Walk down any marina dock in America, and you'll see two boats tied up side by side. One is a boxy aluminum houseboat with a faded canopy. The asking price is $40,000. The other is a glossy white trawler. The broker in the polo shirt wants $150,000. Same dock, same water, same sunset off the back deck. And if you ask anyone standing on that dock which one is the smart buy, they'll point to the trawler. Every single time. What they won't tell you, what the man with the clipboard has a very good reason not to tell you, is that the boat everyone walks past is the cheapest way left to live on the water in this country. And the system steering you toward the expensive one isn't an accident. It was built that way. This is the story of 5 houseboats everyone ignores. The financial trap hiding behind a polo shirt. And the math that changes everything once you see it. 20 years ago, a used houseboat on a lake was a punchline. It was the thing your uncle bought, kept for 2 summers, and sold at a loss while everyone at the boat ramp shook their heads. That reputation never left, and it's exactly why these boats sit cheap in the back of the yard today. Here's what the reputation gets wrong. A brand new boat can shed 10 to 15% of its value in the first year, same as a new truck driving off the lot. But that drop levels off hard after the first decade, down to a couple of percent a year on a boat that's been kept up. The depreciation everyone is scared of already happened. It happened to the first owner. You're the second owner. You walk in after the bleeding stops. Think about that. The same thing that makes people call these boats a bad investment is the exact thing that makes a used one a bargain. The first buyer ate the loss. You get the sunset on the top deck, and the math has only gotten louder. The median American home now runs north of $400,000. A retiree on a fixed income looks at that number, looks at rent, looks at a savings account that has to last 20 more years, and quietly does the arithmetic. A paid-off boat at a freshwater slip starts to look less like a midlife crisis and more like the only door still open. But here's what the broker's brochure never shows you. Where you keep the boat swings that math harder than anything else. A covered slip on Lake Cumberland in Kentucky runs somewhere between $7,000 and $12,000 a year. That's your whole year of dockage. The same 50-foot slip in Newport Beach, California bills by the foot, around $50 to $70 per foot every month. Same boat, same length, 5 times the cost. The only thing that changed is the zip code. The cheap life on the water is real, but it doesn't live on the postcard coastlines. It lives on inland freshwater lakes that nobody puts on a brochure. So let's talk about the boats. 5 of them. And we're saving the best one for last. Number 5 is the boat that built the whole stereotype. The Gibson. If you picture a houseboat in your head, you're probably picturing a Gibson alum. Inum hull, twin gas inboards, boxy profile sitting on a calm lake. They built them by the thousands. Today, a running Gibson trades anywhere from $28,000 on the low end to $110,000 on a cream puff, with the average sitting right around $59,000. Most run a Crusader engine, a Marinized Chevy small block or big block, a 350 or a 454. That's good news, and it's the thing the seller won't bring up. A Crusader is dead simple, and there are owners running 4, 5, even 11,000 hours on them. The catch is the exhaust. On a raw water gas engine, the manifolds and riser elbows corrode from the inside where you can't see it. A tired elbow can dump water straight back into a cylinder. Pull them and look every couple of seasons. The man who knows to check that one thing buys a solid Gibson for the price of a used pickup and laughs about it for years. What walks people past a Gibson is the stuff that's easy to fake for a listing photo. Soft spots in the floor, a transom gone spongy, and on any flat roof boat, leaks where the roof meets the wall. Get up on that roof yourself before you sign anything. If the seller doesn't want you up there, that tells you exactly what's up there. One more thing he won't volunteer. Once a boat crosses 20 or 30 years old, a lot of mainstream insurers stop wanting it. Get a real insurance quote in writing before you make an offer. Because a boat you can't insure is a boat you can't finance and can't dock. Number 4 gets zero respect. And it's dollar for dollar the cheapest way to put a floor over water. The non-powered shanty-style houseboat. No engine at all. A small outboard tender tows it where it needs to go. No Crusader to rebuild. No exhaust elbows to dread. No fuel turning to varnish over winter. For a retiree who wants a fixed home on the water and a small boat to run to the dock, this is the dream stripped down to the part that matters. The trade is real, though. You can't reposition in a hurry, and you're at the mercy of the weather and whoever owns the water you're sitting on. Even with no main engine, most of these carry an onboard generator for power. And you should know its weak spot now. The exhaust mixing elbow is the single most common big repair on those units. Salt and heat crack the casting, and it can backfeed water into the generator. On a freshwater lake, it lasts far longer, which is the whole argument for freshwater over saltwater. Go in with your eyes open on the daily living. You're on shore power. So find out what the Marina charges for electric on top of the slip. Because a live aboard meter is not a weekend meter. You have a holding tank that gets pumped out on a schedule. And on most of these boats, the hull isn't insulated. When the lake freezes, your plumbing wants to freeze right along with it. Know it going in, and it's just a chore. Find out in January and it's a flood. Number 3 is the genuine bottom of the market. The older floating cabin or tired cabin, cruiser someone's been living on at the dock. These trade under $30,000, sometimes way under. Least living space, oldest systems, but also the lowest number on the whole dock for a roof over your head that floats. Here's the warning, ng sign almost every cheap boat video ignores. On the big inland lakes run by the Army Corps of Engineers, places like Lake Cumberland and Dale Hollow, a federal rule says flat out that a boat cannot be used as a legal place of residence. On TVA reservoirs like Norris Lake, new floating cabins were banned years ago, and the rules on the old ones are tightening right now. The fine on paper runs to $5,000. In the real world, enforcement is loose, and plenty of people skirt it by moving the boat or leaving the slip for a few days a month. But understand what that means. On those famous freshwater lakes, full-time living aboard is technically against the rules. If you need a legal address on the water, the honest answer is a coastal marina that actually permits live aboards, and those slips are capped, often around 1 in 10, with wait lists running a year or two. Before you hand over a dime, call the marina office and ask them straight, "Can I live aboard here legally, year-round?" And get the answer in writing. A dockmaster who hums and haws is telling you everything you need to know. The boat is the easy part. Where you're allowed to put it is the part that sinks people. Number 2 is the one people don't even call a houseboat, the catamaran cruiser. A fiberglass cabin sitting on 2 aluminum pontoons. A used model in the mid-30s to 40,000 range gets you a real floating apartment that one person can dock without a heart attack. Watch for the same things every fiberglass boat gets. Blistering in the gel coat below the waterline, soft wet core up in the deck. On a boat this cheap, a little blistering isn't the end of the world. But you want to know it's there before you pay, not after. Here's where retirees get burned, and the experienced crowd already knows what's coming. If that boat rides on aluminum pontoons, you cannot put regular copper bottom paint on it. Copper and aluminum sitting in salt water together form a battery, and the aluminum is what dissolves. You use a copper-free zinc-based anti-fouling, and you keep your anodes fresh. Get that wrong and the hull turns to gray powder while you sleep. Get it right and an aluminum pontoon will outlive you. So why does the broker steer your dad right past this boat? Follow the money. A houseboat like this sells private party, or through a small lake dealer, for almost no commission. The trawler down the dock moves through a yacht brokerage that takes 10% or more. On a $150,000 boat, that's $15,000. That's 15,000 reasons to call the cheap one a bad idea. And if that were the only reason, you could almost forgive it. But there's a second layer. The part even honest brokers won't defend. The same tired vessel gets new photos, a fresh price, and a new online listing every few months. Until someone who doesn't know better signs the check. More often than not, that someone is a retiree spending money saved over 40 years of work. That's the trap. The cheap boat with no commission is the one nobody pushes. The marked up one with a fresh coat of paint is the one walked right under your nose. And that brings us to number 1. The boat worth more than anything with a fresh sales tag on the bow. A well-kept freshwater houseboat sitting in the back of the yard. Faded canopy, 2 seasons of growth on the running gear, a little algae on the transducer. A price that makes people assume something is wrong with it. Nothing is wrong with it. It just isn't pretty in the photos. And pretty in the photos is what the expensive boats are selling. A well-maintained Somerset or Stardust in the 58-foot range. Freshwater its whole life. Twin inboards. Trades in the $60,000 to $90,000 band. Right next to a comparable trawler at $150,000. That's a paid-off truck and a year of slip fees still in your pocket. And here's the fact worth more than the boat itself. Saltwater eats metal 5 to 10 times faster than freshwater. One saltwater year ages a boat like 5. A houseboat that spent its entire life on a calm, freshwater lake. Where the worst it sees is a hard winter is a fundamentally younger boat than a coastal trawler of the same year. Cleaner wiring, tighter engines, better resale when your turn comes. Think about what that means for someone on a fixed income. The freshwater boat doesn't just cost less to buy. It costs less to own. It lasts longer. And it hands more of your money back when you're done with it. There's even a small trade secret buried in that freshwater life. The zinc anodes everyone talks about are designed for saltwater. On a freshwater lake, zinc barely works. You want magnesium anodes instead. The person who knows that one thing is the person whose hull is still solid when the coastal boats of the same year are being cut up for scrap. Now let's put a real number on why this gap matters. A reasonable rule of thumb in the marine world is to budget around 10% of a boat's purchase price per year for upkeep, before slip fees, fuel, or insurance. On a $150,000 trawler, that's $15,000 a year. Every year, on a $60,000 freshwater houseboat, the same rule lands closer to $6,000. That's the difference between cruising and selling at a loss in 3 years. So before you sign anything on any of these, here's what you actually do. First, demand the freshwater history. A boat that never touched salt is younger than its years, every single time. Second, hire your own surveyor, not the one the broker recommends. And understand that a real survey isn't $200. Third, get on the roof and pull at least one wall panel yourself. Soft floors, a spongy transom, and a leaking roof are the 3 things a fresh listing photo hides best. Fourth, if it's aluminum, confirm copper-free paint and fresh anodes, because that one check is the difference between a 40-year hull and a 5-year hull. Fifth, before you fall in love with any boat, confirm where you're actually allowed to live aboard, because a core lake, a TVA reservoir, and a coastal live aboard slip are 3 completely different answers. Real owners who did the homework. Report living aboard a paid-off freshwater houseboat for somewhere around $500 a month, all in. Once the boat is bought, that's a soft number. It moves with your slip and your winters. Treat it as a starting point, not a promise. But sit that next to a $400,000 house or big city rent, and you understand why the people who stop walking past these boats almost never go back to land. Walk back to that dock at golden hour. The $40,000 houseboat tied up next to the $150,000 trawler. Nothing about the water changed. The sunset is the same off either back deck. The only thing that ever separated them was a story someone told to protect a commission. The expensive boat was never the smart one. It was just the one with the better photos, the friendlier broker, and a $15,000 reason to make sure you never looked too closely at what was sitting right next to it.